Hello. Today I'll be going over an update to my Pathfinder Spark video. A few days ago I said that the changes in the patch notes in the 0.4 patch were insane for Pathfinder, and that since we didn't have the Atlas tree, I didn't know 100% sure how I was going to build it. But now I have that answer. But before I get into those details, I'll just rehash why I am going Pathfinder and why it is so good. So, Pathfinder got ridiculous buffs in 0.4 for being a caster. Previously, you would have to path all the way over here, which cost like 16 points, or all the way up here if you wanted like movement speed or jewel sockets. But since GGG nerfed some of this reduced speed penalty on the tree, it is way less advantageous to go here, which I previously was doing in the 0.3 patch, where I was picking up this node and these nodes so that I could run faster while casting Spark. Now these nodes are not very good, so it's definitely not worth spending points all the way to go there. And so Pathfinder got buffed in comparison due to those nerfs. So again, Pathfinder, that movement speed penalty while casting is 50% less, which is insane. And also there's a support that gives you 25% less. So how fast do I run? Right now I run at 51, and whenever I proc my charm, I get 15% more, I think. So I run at 66%, and then 75% of 66%, whatever that is how fast I run while casting Spark. And so this node could basically say I'm running 33. This node could say 33% increased movement speed, which I shouldn't have to tell you how disgusting that is. Pathing to it, this node is also pretty good. Temp chains and shield ground is really annoying, and moving fast is fun, so that's good. These are the nodes that changed and make Spark. I mean, yeah, if you're playing Spark, you should be playing Pathfinder, in my opinion. And so again, this node is saving us 17 passive points, and so if you read this as grants 20 passive skill points, that would also be a pretty good node. And then the follow-up node is, again, legit disgusting, because since we are mana stacking as Arc, because that is very efficient damage, our mana cost is very high, and pretty much the only way to manage that mana cost is through Pathfinder. So we are allocating pretty much every single one of our passive nodes, or actually, yeah, every single one of our passive nodes is cost reduction. So, yeah, Pathfinder, literally perfect for Spark. Now, previously, a few days ago, I was theorizing, is it best to go Archon? Is it best to go Infusions? Or is it best to go just generic damage? And unfortunately, GGG did not buff Archon. Even though Archon does give us a bit of movement speed whenever we have the Archon buff is only up roughly 50% of the time. So they would cost these nodes, and these nodes to make it a 50% uptime. You would move 12% faster because of Archon buff would increase the amount of movement speed that you get. And when you have Archon, you do 25% more elemental damage. But again, and then that gets buffed, so that's like, so 50% of the time you're doing 30% more damage and running 12 movement speed faster. In my opinion, that is not worth the, I don't know, 20 or so passive points that you would have to do to get that. So the next option is Infusions. I didn't try this because I don't want to pick up Infusions, and I have so much damage now that I don't really care to make the build more difficult than just right-clicking Spark. So I'm not doing that. And also, since this is standard, I do have a better option, but non-standard builds, you can just pick up more damage also. But what I'm doing is, since I'm in standard, I am doing a Against the Darkness, and I am doing mana and fire resistance on small passive nodes. So this is giving me 12% extra mana for some generic nodes that are good for Spark. So I'm picking up Cast Speed, I'm picking up Skill Effect Duration, which is a new node. I'm picking up Arcane Surge Effect and Arcane Surge Effect. So this is pretty efficient. It's not like insanely efficient, but it is more efficient in my opinion than picking up Archon Buff. Additionally, they changed this tree, or this part of the tree in the patch notes. So I'm picking up mana regen and mana cost reservation, and I am pathing here to get another jewel. So this is decently efficient, especially when it comes to sustaining mana. So yeah, that is the choices that I have made. And also for weapon swapping, I didn't go over that in my previous video. Weapon swapping, obviously, most people are doing this, but it is a shock effect and an increase curse effect. So whenever I weapon swap, I can put down Sigil. Like I weapon swap, put down Sigil for bosses, so I do whatever 30% more damage. Also, my weapon swap is Orb of Storms, so it shocks, I think, for 40% shock. And then when I weapon swap my Enfeeble, instead of 20% less damage for bosses, it's 31%. So I will show you guys what that looks like. And I'm sure you guys know how it looks, because it is just your basic Spark build. One thing I will say is that, yes, I'm in Standard, because in my opinion, the game is not in a state at which I want to completely re-level a new character. I wish GGG would focus more on the endgame, but since they didn't do that, I do not want to dump a bunch of hours into the league. So that's why I'm playing Standard, but just to say that even though I have a 7,000 mana pool, I do have a Legacy Ring, which is getting mirrored, which is being boosted by a Legacy Ingenuity. So you will very likely not have 7k mana, but 5k mana is very, very, very useful. So that shouldn't really affect things, especially while mapping. My damage is overkill, as you can see, so if you do 40% less damage, who really cares? Mobs are still going to die pretty much just as fast. You probably will notice it on bosses, so if you juice up bosses pretty hard and you take a slam to the face and you have 5,000 mana versus 7,000 mana, there is an increased risk of you dying, so just don't take slams to the face. That's a pretty good suggestion. What else to say? I will show you my gear in a sec, but I went over this in my previous video, so I am using new staves, because new staves got buffed by quite a bit. Thankfully, GGG also buffed the mana rolls on staves, so staves now can provide over 400 flat mana, which is very, very nice for mana stackers. Also, this build doesn't have insane single target. I mean, it's good, but in many maps, the boss arenas are very, very small, so sparks will bounce around a ton. And since we have so much increased duration, my duration is 4.78, so every single time I cast a spark, each spark could hit the target 7 times. So even though my DPS, or I'm staying in Sigil, so my tooltip DPS on spark is 140, but that can hit 7 times. Although every single time it pierces, it does less damage, so let's say, whatever, 5 times this number, so let's say, but that's not even including shock, so I do, I don't know, 1.2 million DPS. Again, if you're in League, maybe you can do like 800k or something like that. But that's just some numbers. Is this thing good? Probably not. So I guess I'll show you the gear. So here's the staff. It has hybrid mana roll and mana roll, and then gain as extra lightning. The gain as extra lightning, pretty sure is worse than just if it was a T1 or high T spell damage, because Archmage gives a ton of extra lightning damage, so this is not the best, but I'm not going to roll over it. Since the +1 spell rune is unique now, I'm just socketing mana in. I don't necessarily know if that's the best DPS-wise, but I don't need any more DPS, so I'm just going with mana. As for gloves, I am putting in Arcane Surge, but that hasn't changed from the previous patch. As for my chest, I am putting in a +1 charm slot, only because I'm running Legacy Ingenuity so that I can have 3 charms, 1 for freeze and 1 for stun. Since I have 1 HP, you get frozen and stunned a lot, so you need these 2 charms. And also, I basically need this charm if you have it, because it makes you run at 15% movement speed all the time, pretty much. So yeah, that is, if you have the funds to do it, basically required. Also, I got a spirit amulet. So previously, I was wanting to have blink in the build, especially for maps where you have to jump gaps, and or again for bossing situations. If you're about to get slammed, you might get one shot because we have no armor. So blinking out of slams is pretty good. So that's why I have a spirit on my amulet. And for boots, since, again, the movement speed rune is unique, I'm just getting more mana. As for gem supports, I'm running Rakiata's Flow because it's really, really good. I don't need to invest into a bunch of pen. Whenever a very, very tanky mob with a lot of resistance comes at me or is in the map, I don't care because I just invert their resistance. This is completely ridiculous. I have 267 proj speed. This alone is giving me 210, which is insane. If you can kill mobs before they look at you, it makes the build more defensive, so that's why, in my opinion, it is required. This is required, basically, because if you don't run this, then you will run definitely on single target. Maybe not while mapping, because you have man on kill, but again, this is semi-required. Mobility, again, semi-required, because since we run at 66 movement speed, you can read this as running whatever the math is, 17 movement speed, 17 increased movement speed for one support. That is very, very worth it. And then Pierce. I'm not sure if this is required. If you have enough damage to one-shot white mobs, you don't technically need them to pierce the targets. But again, when bossing in small arenas, this is really, really good, again, because our sparks can pierce the target 7 times. So, again, this is also semi-required in my opinion. And then Archmage, I am running a Diala's. There also is a lineage support that can buff Archmage by +3 levels. I haven't gotten that yet. I will get that, which will reduce the mana cost again. So I still need to get that. I don't know what it's called. I forget. Whatever. It's the when a item has 2 supports, you get +3 levels. I will get that soon. But I'm running the Dialas so that the reservation is enough so that I can run Blink, which I am running. And also, I have Clarity because I like having mana. I'm also running Enfeeble so that bosses do 31% less damage. Mana Tempest, I don't even have on my bars because, in my opinion, it's not even worth it. I mean, if you feel like clicking an additional button while mapping, you can sustain the mana, but I don't need the damage, and I don't feel like clicking an extra button, so I don't do it. And it really doesn't give that much damage anyway, because we are Archmage. And for Orbistorms, I put this down for bosses. I think I put it down for this boss, I forget. But yeah, since it is in my weapon swap, it gives bigger shocks. So that is the only time I use it. I believe I covered everything. I will put the POB in the description. Have fun with the build.